For the third year in a row, South Suburban College's men's basketball team looked to claim another Region 4 championship. Another championship would propel the Bulldogs to the NJCAA tournament in Danville, Illinois. Standing in their way was the skilled Triton Trojans. Not only were the Bulldogs and Trojans ranked 1 and 2 in the tournament, but they were also ranked 6th and 7th in the country for Division II men's basketball.
But then somebody's got to talk and get up there, but if there's no one going up there, you got to go with the man. You just got to stay with it.
You know, the game this weekend against Triton's for the regional championship, and Triton's a very, very good basketball team. They're 29-3, and they're ranked 7th in the country, and they're playing on their home floor, which they are very, very good at that venue.
That may be a bit of an understatement, as only one of the 3 Trojan losses came at home. Playing in a hostile environment wouldn't be easy for the Bulldogs.
We're not really focusing our minds on that. We really just want to take number 1.
Well, we need to go into Triton as in a war mentality. Lots of energy and enthusiasm. We have to come into this game that way. We have to come into this practice this way. If you're going to be sensitive when they start talking trash to you during the game, okay, you're going to get knocked out.
They're 1 game away from winning a regional championship and going to the national tournament.
Triton suffered its first loss of the season to SSC on the road. With a raucous packed gymnasium to support them, the Trojans looked to get revenge on the Bulldogs.
You know, we just looked at it like we're the underdogs. Like, they don't want us here, so we should give them a reason why we should be here.
With a trip to the NJCAA tournament on the line, these 2 nationally ranked powerhouses battled back and forth during the first half.
That was one of the most emotional games I ever played, and it was real intense in the gym. I mean, a lot of emotions was flying on both ends.
SSC grabbed a small lead and put a dagger through Triton's heart as the first half ended. With a 7-point lead heading into halftime, SSC knew they couldn't let up.
You know, if you have a big lead in the middle of the game, that doesn't matter. Your team has to continue to play.
The Bulldogs continued to do just that in the beginning of the second half by jumping out to a commanding 11-point lead. But there's a reason why the Trojans were ranked 7th in the nation.
Well, you know, knew Triton was going to make a run. The 11-point lead in basketball, you see, nowadays, really doesn't matter.
Triton clawed their way back into the game and tied it up with 2 minutes left.
My emotions just told me that we had to finish it out, and I told my team that we got to stick together and stick it out.
The Bulldogs regrouped and took a 2-point lead with less than a minute left. A few defensive plays later, the Bulldogs held their lead to capture their 3rd consecutive Region 4 championship.
You know, I thought it could go either way, and I thought some of our kids stepped up and made some big-time shots.
3 Bulldogs were honored with individual awards once the game was over. Nick Carey made the all-tournament team.
I never really entered a tournament and actually made the all-tournament team, so it really felt good.
Brad Burton won the Region 4 MVP for the tournament, and John Pagatti was given his 3rd consecutive Region 4 Coach of the Year award. After a few pictures, the Bulldogs headed to the locker room and were congratulated by South Suburban College's president.
3 years in a row, you guys are playing just as well as any of the other 2 teams that went down there. One of these years, it's ours.
And then it was time to celebrate. Even the coaches couldn't help themselves.
6, 7, 8.
It was crazy. It was kind of funny, you know what I'm saying? They're not that good at dancing, though.
The Bulldogs stopped back at SSC for a few more pictures and a little more celebrating.
We have unfinished business to do. We've been down there 2 years and lost the very first one each year. Okay, it's time for that to stop. You're a special group. You won 28 games, all right? We got 4 more left.
if you celebrate too long, then you lose focus. So we had to get like the next day in practice, so we had to get right back to it.
Unfortunately for SSC, they drew Columbus State Community College in the first round, the #1 team in the country.
Last year, I know when we made it to Denville, I think we was more content on making it to Denville, just happy to be there. So we just reminded them like that our goal is not to make it to Denville, it's to win a national championship.
Ayo! Nationals, baby.
With their hopes of a national championship dashed, the Bulldogs focused on a new goal. If they could win their last 2 games in the tournament, they would have 30 wins on the season. SSC has never had back-to-back 30-win seasons for basketball. To get there, they would first have to get past a familiar opponent, Morton College, a team they beat earlier in the season. With the chip on their shoulder and a chance to make school history, the Bulldogs came out strong against Morton College. And when it was all said and done, the Bulldogs handedly beat the upstart Panthers 71-55.
What I've seen from this team and from previous teams that we have is what makes you as a winner is you work as a team. You work together. You know, there's a lot of stars, but you all have to work together, and you guys are great.
The next day, the Bulldogs had to play the Bismarck State College Mystics, a fundamentally sound team from North Dakota that made a lot of people take notice in the tournament.
And keep the guy in contain and contest, and then guard the 3. All right, it's all about this.
The Bulldogs came out to a fast start, showing an early dominance over the Mystics. Similar to the game against Triton College, SSC hit another buzzer beater to end the first half and took a 14-point lead into halftime.
My whole concern is how we're going to come out in the first 5 minutes of the second half, okay? So we're going to have to watch that to see what happens, okay? We're going to have to watch to see what happens on it, okay? But now, remember, they can't get 61 points. How are you stopping them? You're making them drive it. You're making them throw it in the post. That's what we want them to do. We are not getting in a 3-point shooting contest with them. We're getting the ball to the basket, we're getting out in the break, and we're winning our last game for 30 wins, 2 years in a row. Let's go.
Hey, Bulldogs on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bulldogs.
But Pagatti's concern was valid. The Bulldogs came out flat to start the second half, and Bismarck took advantage. Overcoming a 14-point deficit to start the second half, Bismarck led by 4 with only a little over 7 minutes left in the game. The Bulldogs needed to regroup, and after a fiery timeout, SSC's sophomores took over. Brad Burton stepped up and tied the game before giving SSC the lead again. The Bulldogs didn't let go. Despite finishing 7th in the nation, their 3rd top 10 finish in the last 3 years, the locker room after the game was surprisingly somber, even making school history seem like a small consolation for coming so close to being crowned national champions.
You won your region, you were one of the 12 best teams in the nation, you were ranked, you came to a national tournament, you lost 1 game. We're all very proud of you, you guys did a great job.
Every one of you in here, you are a great champion. And this year when you walked, the ground did rumble. The sky did part. And the mere mortals around us, the people that were the people that are your supporters, not on the team, but all your supporters, they parted the way for your victory 30 times.
No team has ever had back-to-back 30-win seasons in SSC history. With over half of this year's roster returning next season, it's not too early to talk about back-to-back-to-back.
Bulldogs on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bulldogs.